So let's start off with, first of all, with millennials. Where do you think millennials? Where would you like to go on first dates?
I personally love just a few cocktails. That's it. Or a couple beers somewhere.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be a very fancy place.
Really?
Because especially for a first date, you
Sure.
both don't know if you're going to like each other.
Right.
And I don't want to say you don't want to invest your time, but like,
Sure.
I don't know how many dates you're going on. I don't.
Sure.
We actually had a podcast, Boujee Broke, about
Yes.
this, and we had a guy's perspective. So we had a guy on, and he's a chronic dater in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, how much do you expect to pay for a first date? He goes, every date I want to spend no more than $100.
Okay.
And I said, that's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Right.
And he goes, well, I'm not doing it. I just called him a chronic dater. And
Okay.
he's like, I try maybe one night a week.
Okay.
And I was
Okay.
like, that's still quite a bit of money. He goes, well, sometimes it's just drinks, sometimes
Sure.
it's dinner. He goes, it honestly depends on the vibe the girl is giving me.
Right.
If
Right.
she's really into it, if she's not, you never know.
True.
And I feel like I've gone on first dates and I'm like, maybe not. And
Yeah.
if I go on a first date and I know I'm not going to be interested, I offer to split the bill. So
Okay. So
that's like a pro dating hack, and I think it kind of sends the message that you're not interested.
okay. So if you are interested, you're expecting him to pay the bill.
Whoever asked the person out. So
Okay.
So if
But generally, girls ask guys out.
I mean, I guess I'm so non-traditional. I do things by myself. I ask men out.
Okay. Yes.
I would pay, yeah.
Okay.
If I asked somebody out on a date, I would pay.
That's. Are you guys hearing this? Hey, I did not know that. That's awesome. Okay.
And I think that's kind of the way it should be. Like, girls shouldn't ask, oh, hey, do you want to go out on a date sometime? And then the bill comes and you just stare at it? I don't know.
Well,
That's a little awkward.
Generally, I would just take charge and, the bravino, manly, whatever. It's like, whatever, hey, right? Just kind of go with it, just generally speaking. But, yeah, I know there's a lot of different tricks and, all this. Sometimes they, I guess based off of the vibe, like you were talking about, if it's going to be a split. But what, in the last podcast that I was actually talking about this on, I was pretty much explaining that I, just based off of my upbringing, just generally would just pay, even though if it's a bad or a good date. So, but what I'm starting to understand, and I'm glad we're talking about this, is because, is like, actually, quite often some girls would actually want to split it, or even, what it sounds like you're saying, like, you would even want to pay.
Yeah. I have
Which is
no
awesome.
problem.
Okay.
But that's probably why I'm broke.
Well, no,
I'm joking.
No, I think it's really good to kind of just get that other perspective of what women think throughout the dating process. Because I tell you, it's almost a guessing game, and. You just don't know what to expect, and having these sort of conversations kind of opens it up for us to really understand what's going on on that other side, right? Because we have our own perspective. We go on, we start off on dates and all that stuff, and then you guys have your own perspectives as well. So it's always great to kind of hear it from the woman's perspective on the dating scene and things of that nature. So yeah, so let's dive a little bit more into that, in terms of, how much money you should spend. So it sounds like you said your friend said he spends about $100.
I say way less than that.
Okay.
I said a couple drinks each, so I'm saying $50.
$50
tops.
Okay, $50 tops. You guys heard that. So, all right, okay. I mean, that's not bad at all. So we talked about who should pay the bill. It's just based on vibes. You should say, you're thinking based on vibes?
Whoever asks the person out should pay.
Okay.
But if one party feels like it's not going good,
Okay.
you should split.
Okay. Now, okay, let's get into this. I don't know if you've ever, asked a guy this question. Maybe probably not on the first date. But is there like a income scale that you look at when you're talking to a guy?
Money is very subjective,
Okay.
and I firmly believe you should be with somebody or dating somebody that has the same kind of lifestyle you do.
Sure.
I always feel like the job is a good indicator of how much they make. And if I don't want to say it's all about the money,
Sure.
but it's going to be a struggle in the future if one party doesn't make enough, or the dynamic might just be thrown off. So I think living the same kind of lifestyle, the same kind of things,
Sure.
is a really good indicator. So I always check with job title. I never want somebody. I'm very traditional, and I'd like to play the woman role in a relationship. So I never want to. I don't want to say make more than somebody, but if we're equal, I like that. So there's a equal responsibility that we're both putting in here.
Okay.
So we're both contributing, we're both doing the same, we're on the same page. And I think that's important. And if it's the opposite way, one person's going to get annoyed, or one person's going to feel used or whatnot. So I think it's very important to kind of scope out, like, oh, what do you do? Where do you work? And kind of go from there. You don't have to ask them, how much money do you make? You could definitely tell.
Right. So those, what do you do? Are those
where do you live?
Are those probing? Is that like another like sly way to get there?
Yes, I think so, and I think that's totally fair. I would answer the questions honestly, the same way. So, kind of like that, like a good indication is like, oh, where do you live? And if you're like, oh yeah, I live in this super nice apartment, you're like, oh man, I don't know if I'm cut out to be with this guy. Or
so does that play a role then too? Like if he's like very successful, do you then at that point feel like, some sort of intimidation or?
I'm never intimidated, but
Nice.
it is. But like I said, I guess I'm not. I guess I'm just like a fly in the wall, not like other girls. But I feel that as a competition almost.
Oh.
So kind of like, oh well, you do that, I only do this. I need to be better, or I need to catch up, or like how can I contribute to this relationship just as much as you are.
So with that being said, what are your ideal ways to I don't know if you're single or not.
Chronically single.
Chronically single.
I go on a lot of dates.
Okay, fair. Boom, we got it. All right. So then, where are your main ways to go on dates? Like, do you bump into somebody at a bar, or are you in the trend of the dating apps trend?
I'm about 75-25.
Which
75 apps, 25
Okay.
IRL.
Nice. Okay. Let's talk about those apps. Where do you feel like, which ones, first of all, do you like the best, and which ones are you like, in terms of and yeah, let's because we've actually had this not you and I, but we've had this conversation in the past in terms of dating apps and it being like this new way, obviously, and this new trend. If you're a millennial and you're not using a dating app, it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
So let's dive into that a little bit. I want to get your perspective on which ones you like the best.
Okay.
So obviously, we'll go with the main, I don't know, 3 or 4, whatever, right? So there's Tinder, there's Bumble, there's Hinge. I think that's the main 3 as of now. I think there's even Coffee and Bagel or something like that.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
So I am on Hinge.
Okay. I've heard good things.
That's the only one I really like. I also am on The League, which is this other
that one.
super trendy, exclusive dating app.
Exclusive. Okay.
But hit the league. Make sure like they connect it with your LinkedIn profile, so you're not like lying about your job. And I also like it because it won't match you with anybody in your workplace. Which I have had some situations where it's been kind of awkward in the office, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I saw that. Okay. So I lean towards Hinge in the league.
Sure.
I like Hinge a lot because it's intuitive. You're not like matching with people just to match. They have questions, and like you answer the questions, and you could like comment on a photo or comment on whatever their response was to the question. To Hinge.
Oh, to Hinge. Okay, yes. I was about to say Hinge. Yes, because I've used it in the past, and it's I remember that feature, which is great, right?
Yes, and it's the dating app meant to be deleted. So I feel like that's like I always say you get out of dating what you put into it. If you're, I don't want to be like, I'm looking for a serious boyfriend and get married tomorrow. Like, but
nobody.
Like, I'm not asking for that type of commitment, but I'm not wanting you to just. I'm not just wanting to go on dates to go on dates.
Sure.
I do have an end goal here. I would like to find a boyfriend.
Sure.
Whatnot. So. You definitely get out what you put in. And I don't spend a whole lot of time on swiping back and forth or whatever. And that's what I like about the league is every day you only get 4 people.
Really?
And and if you both match, you match. And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a new one. I've never heard of that one, the league. I mean, I'm out of the dating scene, but I mean, probably when I get back in the league. Okay. You guys so the league, it sounds like a bougie type of app, the league.
It is, they do kind of market it as that. It's exclusive. You have to get in. So they review your photos and kind of like review your job, and you can't have like any weird or provocative messages in your about me. It's not like the kind of Tinders of the world. I don't want to give Tinder bad or negative connotation, but I just feel like everybody knows.
Everybody knows. I mean, there's a market for it, and I think that's why it's good. I think that's why they have all these different apps, because whichever flavor I guess you want to have, you have it. So no, that's great. So no, I'm glad we're able to cover that topic there. And then in terms of first dates, as you mentioned, it's all about the vibing, and then the bills. You told us about that as well. And so what's like your ideal? What will, in your opinion? Because I've asked this question actually in the past, and I want to kind of get it from you. What seals a second date? From the first date. What's like that? Is there like a word? Throughout or is it a whole the whole experience and everything else?
Well, the last guy I dated, I went on a first date with him, and I did not like him at all.
Oh, wow.
And so I always have a 2-date rule.
Okay.
So I don't save your phone number in my phone till the second date, and I'll give you at least a second chance. So
really?
Yes.
Even if you don't?
If it might have been I was having an off night, you might have been like nervous. There's too many factors.
And you didn't like him because maybe the vibe then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we hung out again, and I was like, I like you, and we dated for a couple months, and so I feel like I'm a person who just always gives somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So I encourage that more. Just don't like move on to the next one right away.
Right. I think that should be a new role. No, that's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so true. Because at the end of the day, you're meeting somebody for the first time. There's all these nerves. There's all these things that can happen. You can't control them. So there's it can come off negative. It can come off wrong, and that can blow off a date. So I like that strategy. Giving somebody that second chance. And you never
them giving me a second chance.
Right.
Maybe I messed up. Like Let me know.
Wow, you're being humble right now.